Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Kavinsky's Tutorials. Today I'm going to do a comparison of June by Audiothing, so Juno-60 emulation, which just came out for desktop and iPad, with TAL-U-NO-LX, very highly respected Juno-60 emulation that's already been out for desktop and iPad for a few years. So I'm not going to compare every small little difference between the apps, but I will compare some of the most important things, and really the most important things, like how do the different oscillators sound, and how do those sound with different chorus combinations, and what's the filter like, what do filter sweeps sound like, what about the unison on these, is it very different, and so on. Audiothing in their blurb about the app just said, do we really need another Juno? We think the answer is yes if it's done with care. This isn't just another lookalike. We spent a long time with the real thing, studying every circuit, chasing the tiny details that make it feel alive, the way the DCO behaves, how the envelopes respond. Now that's something I haven't really checked, to be honest, the envelopes, how the filter breathes, and how the chorus shimmers and dances around the sound. So I do find there are some differences between them. I think they both sound really good. There are definitely some differences. There are certain things that I maybe prefer on one or the other. But we'll talk about those as we go through the video. So I've set things up here that I've tried to dial in a patch. One of them was a bit louder and stuff than the other, and they didn't have like the same init patch or anything. So here you can just compare. What we're hearing at the moment is TAL-U-NO-LX, and now that's June. And I hope you'll agree with me that is pretty similar. Now Juno filter sounds a little bit snappier there. It's not necessarily always sounding like that, but I found it hard to get them to sound exactly identical. So first thing we'll look at here, what we've got in these. So they're both set up in the same way. So we're just hearing the triangle, no sub, the filter frequency cutoff is all the way up, no resonance. We're going to check the filters in a minute, right? And just ADSR, everything down here except sustain all the way up. So let's just compare them again. I'm going to just switch these presets out, do a filter sweep. So I'll pick this preset on both. Okay, now here I've got an LFO set up with a triangle wave, and that's just going to sweep that. So we're not hearing any of the oscillators here, just the filters. So that's TAL-U-NO, right? And let's switch to June. So a bit of a different sound, right? Let's switch back to TAL-U-NO again. Wait a second. We're back on TAL-U-NO now. So this is a lot smoother sounding, isn't it? The Audiothing one is more stepped. I've no idea which one is closer to the original, but they do sound different. They both sound good. This is June again. Now, let's bring in, while we're doing the filter sweep, I'm bringing in the triangle here as well. That's TAL-U-NO, hang on a sec, sorry. There we go. So this is June we're hearing. Just a triangle, sweeping the filter. And let's switch to same setup in TAL-U-NO. Okay, let's switch to pulse. So this is TAL-U-NO. Now June. Let's try sub. Gotta turn it up here. Okay, now we're hearing TAL-U-NO. Right, so you get the idea. They all sound good, don't they? I'm going to stop the filter sweeping and let's just open both the filters fully. Or we'll change preset actually here maybe. So filters cranked, pulse wave, chorus 1, and we're just going to switch around things here. Okay, here we go. So this is TAL-U-NO. What we got here, all three of these on. Pulse, triangle, sub turned all the way up. Chorus 2. Same setup here in June. So now we're hearing TAL-U-NO. And now we're hearing June. I'm going to switch back to TAL-U-NO. So what do you prefer there? I think I prefer June. Now it is, June is louder there though, so let me bring TAL-U-NO volume up a little bit. I need to bring it up more even. Just seeing how far this is going up here in the dB meter. TAL-U-NO again. Different sound, right? Different. So we're back on TAL-U-NO. Let's change. So now we got chorus 1. So we're still listening to TAL-U-NO. All three oscillators, filter fully open. Chorus 1. Now June. Again, I need to crank the volume a bit on TAL-U-NO. It's hard to call. They both sound great. Again, I think I slightly prefer June on this. just switch back to very basic preset here. Really sounding the same, right? So we're going to first listen to June. Just this oscillator, no chorus. And there's TAL-U-NO. Need to crank the TAL-U-NO volume slightly to make it fairer, the levels. Different sound, yeah. June's a bit more bassy. It's got a different quality to the fizz. You know, even if I crank that volume there, it's not getting that same bassy quality. So different sound to them for sure. So here, let's get the sub and the square, and the pulse, sub and pulse. Let me just set that up here. So that's June. Look at the volume level here. TAL-U-NO, I gotta crank that a little bit. So this is what I found, you know, got to do a lot of playing around with the levels, because you change the oscillator and suddenly the levels might not be the same because the modeling's a bit different. Again, I gotta say, June has more beef to it. That's all three oscillators on, no chorus. So this is TAL-U-NO. And this is June. Let's bring the level of TAL-U-NO down a little bit there. Now you see it's June needing a little bit of a volume increase. No, actually, that's too much. Now, let's change this a second. So now we've just got the pulse in each one. Take June's level down slightly. Really need to try and be fair with the levels. Anything sounds louder, it just automatically sounds better almost. So different sound just like that. I'm not really sure which I'd prefer. But now we're going to come into something, an area where I think that June excels. So if we go down to the extra section here, we have this voice control, and I'm just going to set the unison. Now, the thing is, I need to re-trigger this. If I set the unison here while a note is latched in June, it's not going to make any difference. So let's just take off this. Oh, this is this pad actually. Right. Let me just put both those on again. I always get confused by what's on in this damn thing. Okay, there we go. Right. So here's June's unison. Now note also, June has up to 24 voice polyphony. It's actually, no, it's got up to 32. Whereas TAL-U-NO just goes up to 12, so June wins on polyphony count for sure. But listen to that unison, it's absolutely beautiful. And that's with sub-oscillator. That's all 3 oscillators. It gets a bit messy like that. So let's just go back for a minute to just the pulse oscillator. Again, filters totally open, no resonance. 6 voice unison. And now let's switch over to TAL-U-NO. And so TAL-U-NO is a slightly different setup because here we can adjust the voices even if it's latched. So here I've put the voices up maximum. Well, this sounds a lot lower. Hang on, I gotta compensate with the volume for sure. That's June. So the unison in June is just a lot beefier. This can get a lot more detuned. So you could say this is more versatile maybe. Ah, we should have brought that width up maybe there. Let's see. Right, that's a slightly fairer comparison. Yeah. So back on June, playing with the fat amount. And now back to TAL-U-NO. Put that volume up a little bit. Playing with the detune. So the unison controls on this tend to make it lose quite a lot of volume. So you're going to have to sort of play around with the volume and stuff to compensate, and there's just a different sound to it. Let me bring those back down. In general, I definitely have a preference for the way the unison sounds in June. So I think I've gone through the main things that I wanted to say. I made a few notes here just in case I've missed anything. So I can also just recap a little bit here. So basically, oh, and I haven't talked yet about the one thing that is really important that I didn't mention yet in the video, which is actually huge for me. So based on this video, I think you might think that I would choose June. But actually, I think I would probably choose TAL-U-NO if I had to choose one. You know, it's nice to have both. They're good for different things, and they both sound really good. I do think Juno sounds a lot better on the Unison, would be the main thing. But there were just certain different times when I felt I preferred the sound of one over the other. But I did find myself preferring the sound of June more, I think. But June is missing one thing that is really important to me. That means that I would actually probably choose TAL-U-NO if I had to choose one. So I'm going to mention that also as I go through these things. So what I wrote here, on some settings, these sound very similar. On some, they sound very different. I don't have the hardware, right? So I can't say which, if either, is more faithful to the original. In terms of sound, I find the filters pretty similar, but there is that difference. If you remember, the TAL-U-NO filters are kind of smoother, and the June filters have a more steppy quality to them. I mean, that steppy quality has a certain character. I'm not really sure if I prefer one over the other. They do sound different. Again, if you know which one is more authentic, if either, please let us know in the comments. When it comes to the oscillators and the chorus, certain combos can sound very different on each. At times I found myself preferring June. At other times I found myself preferring TAL-U-NO. As I say, I think in terms of sound, there were more times when I was comparing when June jumped out as the slightly better sounding one. The unison effects on both definitely sound very different. But TAL-U-NO did sound a lot better when we opened up that width. I think we definitely needed that width. If you compare them without the width, it's not a very fair comparison. TAL-U-NO can get more detuned. It tends to sort of lose volume and lose punch. June can't get as detuned, but it always stays very musical, and it's got a real beautiful beastly punch to it. I think that Unison in June sounds absolutely fantastic. So if that was important to me, if I wanted something really, really, really fat sounding, I think I would go for June. Now, another thing I didn't mention yet, but if you are familiar with Audiothing, you'll know that recently they started putting in all their synths or instruments a little effects panel, which is nice, you know, and you can move the effects around and stuff to reorder them. And of course, they sound very good. You know, Audiothing, I don't think they do stuff that doesn't sound good. You know, all the modeling and whatever is great. So June has more built-in effects. It has, tape echo, overdrive, phaser, and spring reverb. If we go to TAL-U-NO, TAL-U-NO has just delay and reverb, and obviously they've both got the choruses. By the way, in June, in the extras part, you can set which model you want, J6 or J60. And hang on. Yeah, you can set which model you want for the chorus. And you can change the rate and noise. So this is J6, and this is J60. It's a very subtle difference between them. There's that noise if you want to dial it in. So, TAL-U-NO doesn't give you control over which chorus, or I don't think it lets you control the rate or anything either. So that's one thing that June has in its favor. But yeah, in terms of June having extra effects like phaser and the overdrive, right, which TAL-U-NO-LX doesn't have, I personally don't really care much about that. I wouldn't base my decision on that. I would go more for the other features, because generally I prefer to use separate effects apps with synths. Mind you, it is good when synths do have some effects built in. It helps, professional preset pack makers make more interesting presets. But, really the important thing is more the sound of the synths and the features. As I mentioned, June's max polyphony can go to 32, and that is a big upgrade from TAL-U-NO's 12 voices. But, and this is huge, it is a huge but, and I haven't mentioned it at all so far in this video, but if you watch my channel, you'll know that I care a lot about MPE. I really like MPE synths, and that is an area where TAL-U-NO really wins because it is MPE, and it's actually a pretty decent MPE implementation. I did a video on that a while ago, so definitely just search my channel for TAL-U-NO. It was only a few weeks ago I did a video on this, and if you go and listen to that video, it'll give you an idea. I mean, if you're not that familiar with MPE, to me, having that per note expression, it is beautiful, and it's especially good for drone music, and I really love playing around with making drone music. I personally wish all synths were MPE in 2025, and I especially wish that all iPad synths were MPE, because the touchscreen can be a great MPE control surface. We got all these different controllers that we can use. I often find myself grabbing Salome for drone music because of this little latch and catch feature that it has. Now, I'm not going to demo TAL-U-NO's MPE in this video. You can go and watch that video. But iPad has a lot of disadvantages, let's face it, since Apple took away the headphone jack. It really pisses me off that they did that. But one of the advantages that it has is that it's got this beautiful touchscreen, and a touchscreen lends itself very well to being an MPE controller, even though the screen is not pressure sensitive, right? Apart from on that one iPhone, what was it, years ago, iPhone 6 or something, was it? One of them had a screen that it could actually register the pressure of your touches. And then, you could play an app like GeoShred, for example. You could actually use your pressure on the screen. So, I mean, some people go and seek out those old phones just for that. But I do really wish that all synths were MPE. And although I think June does, for me, sound a bit better overall, especially some things like the Unison and stuff, I think there's not a huge amount of difference in the sound. They both sound really, really good. And I feel that unless you're actually comparing things directly, you might not really notice that much of a difference in most situations, which one of these you're using. But TAL-U-NO is MPE. I personally really value that. So I would choose TAL-U-NO if I could only have one of them. I suppose another factor, it depends really what the pricing is like. So if price is an issue, I don't know yet what the price of June is going to be. And the price of TAL-U-NO has changed over the years. It used to be very cheap on iPad. It's no longer priced at kind of Instabuy territory. Even when it's on sale, it's still not all that cheap. So if you don't care about MPE, and if June happens to be priced very competitively, then maybe it's the one to grab. But they're both really beautiful sounding instruments, I must say. So hope you enjoyed this, everyone. Just in time here, I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.